On a warm night in 1912, in a quiet Iowa town, 8 souls were slaughtered in their sleep. 6 of them were children. The killer was never found, and the house never forgot. It was supposed to be a peaceful Sunday evening in Villisca, Iowa. The Moore family, Josiah, Sarah, and their 4 children had just returned home from a church event, accompanied by 2 young guests, Lena and Ina Stillinger. They walked through the front door around 10 o'clock, tired but happy. The house fell silent as the family settled in for the night. But sometime after midnight, a shadow slipped through the unlocked door. This shadow carried an axe. The man moved with a terrifying purpose, from room to room, silencing every single person inside. When the bodies were discovered the next morning, a scene of unimaginable horror awaited. But, as investigators pieced together the events of that night, the crime only grew stranger. The killer had systematically covered every mirror and pane of glass in the house with cloth. He'd hung fabric over the windows, shrouding the home in darkness. Evidence suggested he stayed for hours after the murders, as if waiting for something, or someone. And perhaps the most unsettling detail of all, the clocks in the house were all frozen. Their hands stopped at exactly 3:13 a.m. The town of Villisca was gripped by a fear it had never known. Who could commit such an act, and why? The questions piled up, but answers remained buried in the shadows of that silent house. The police investigation was a spiral into confusion and horror. How could 8 people be murdered in a small house with no one in the neighborhood hearing a single scream? The walls were thin, the windows were open to the summer air, yet the night remained silent. But it was the attic that truly unnerved them. The moment they stepped into it, the air felt thick, heavy. Downstairs, more bizarre clues emerged. A plate of untouched food sat on the kitchen table, prepared by an unknown hand. A heavy oil lamp had been moved from its usual spot and placed at the foot of the parents' bed, its chimney removed. It was as if the killer wanted to light his way, to watch his terrible work unfold. But the detail that haunted investigators for decades was found in the kitchen sink, a bowl filled with bloody water. It suggested the murderer had calmly washed his hands after the slaughter, and then, instead of fleeing, he continued to walk through the house, his grim task complete, leaving a trail of spectral footprints in the collective memory of the town. The crime scene was a puzzle of pure evil, with no logical solution. After the blood was cleaned and the investigation stalled, the house on East 2nd Street sat empty, but it was never truly quiet. It took years before anyone was brave enough to try and live in the Villisca murder house again. They reported events that started small but escalated with terrifying speed. Icy cold spots would form at the foot of their bed in the middle of the night, so cold it felt like a presence was standing there. Then came the sounds, the disembodied laughter of children echoing from the empty kitchen around 2 in the morning. Lights would flicker and turn on and off by themselves, plunging the family into darkness and then blinding them with a sudden glare. The mother's breaking point came one evening as she was climbing the stairs. She felt a small, cold hand firmly grab her ankle, trying to pull her back. They fled the next day, leaving most of their belongings behind. Armed with cameras, audio recorders, and a desire to communicate with the other side, these ghost hunters sought to document the strange phenomena. Ever heard of a place so haunted, it remembers your name? Tonight, we're not just telling a ghost story. We're stepping inside a house where a century-old crime refuses to be forgotten. This is the Villisca Axe Murder house, and the stories that come out of it are far more terrifying than the crime itself. The house stands quietly in a small Iowa town, a monument to an unsolved massacre from 1912. 8 people, including 6 children, were brutally murdered in their sleep. The killer was never found, but many believe something else was left behind, something that still walks the halls and waits. Visitors often share one particularly chilling detail. Look up at the attic window. People swear they see pale, blank faces staring back, not out at the street, but down into the house, as if they're watching you. Even more unsettling, visitors who are completely alone report hearing children whispering their names. Security cameras, left running in the empty house, often capture fleeting shadows moving from room to room when there's no one there to cast them. Paranormal investigators have documented a bizarre time loop in the house. It's always the same time, 3:13 a.m. Clocks, both old and new, will inexplicably reset themselves to this exact minute. Electronic equipment fails without warning. Fully charged batteries drain in an instant. One team of investigators was recording when, at precisely 3:13 a.m., A bedroom door creaked open on its own. They filmed what was on the other side, just a pitch-black void, but their audio equipment picked up something else. A faint, almost playful giggle, belonging to a small child. The paranormal activity seems to get more physical, more invasive, as the night goes on. People who have stayed overnight report waking up to find fresh scratches gouged into the walls. Small, dusty handprints appear on mirrors and windows where none were before. Furniture, especially in the children's rooms, is often found moved. The small wooden crib is notorious for rocking back and forth, slowly, rhythmically, all by itself. One investigator, sitting alone in the dark, felt a cold, firm touch on his ankle. He quickly pulled up his pant leg and, under the beam of his flashlight, he saw it. The distinct, bruise-like marks of small fingerprints already forming on his skin. Another time, a different investigator was documenting the master bedroom when she noticed something new on the wall. The word "stay" was freshly carved into the plaster, with a strange, dark moisture slowly dripping from the letters. But the most terrifying part isn't what happens inside the house. It's what happens after you leave. Some visitors claim the haunting followed them home. They're plagued by the sound of children crying in their own houses, sometimes coming from an empty room. They see shadows flicker in the corners of their bedrooms. And worst of all, they find themselves waking up, night after night, with a jolt of inexplicable fear. When they check the clock, it always reads the same time, 3:13 a.m. One woman who visited the house was trying to sleep weeks later when she heard a child's voice whisper right next to her ear. It said, "You came to see us. Now we come to see you." The house doesn't just hold the spirits of the victims. Many believe the entity of their killer still lingers there too. In the attic, the same attic with the faces in the window, people report a heavy, oppressive presence. It's a feeling of pure malevolence. Witnesses have described the unnerving sensation of hot breath on the back of their necks, the sight of a tall, imposing shadow figure standing silently in the corner, and the sudden coppery smell of sweat and metal filling the air. Some have even recorded the distinct sound of heavy footsteps on the floorboards above, pacing back and forth, room to room, as if the killer is reenacting his every move, waiting for the family to fall asleep all over again. There's a local legend, a final warning passed down by those who live near the house. It says if you're brave enough, or foolish enough, to stay in the Villisca house after midnight, you need to pay attention to the signs. If the temperature in the room drops suddenly, and you hear the children's voices whisper, "He's back," you must leave immediately. Don't hesitate, because it means the killer's spirit has returned, and this time, he's not there for them. He's there for you. And if you see the crib begin to rock, don't watch, don't listen, and don't you dare stay. Because they say once the house learns your name, it never forgets. It will whisper it back to you at 3:13 a.m., no matter where you are. The Villisca Axe Murder House is more than a crime scene. It is a wound that never healed, a whisper that never fades, a place where the dead do not rest.